Hi, this is Courtney Isgett, and this is my original research concept for HCD 745 at the University of Southern Mississippi doctoral program in human capital development. Special education teachers aid and teach their students in an inclusion classroom setting with the general education teacher. Special education students are taught in the resource classroom, the gifted classroom, the self-contained classroom, or the inclusion classroom. The self-contained classroom mostly serves severe and profoundly disabled students. Under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act of 2004, also known as IDEA, we came up with this idea as a nation called inclusion. And inclusion is mainstreaming these special education students into the general education population. So instead of having our special education students here and our general education students here, the idea is that special education students learn from peers of their own age. So we are going to include those students with peers of their own age. That is the idea. So assistive technology is a gateway for students to gain independence, especially special education students. Under IDEA 2004, we also have the American Technology Act, which includes laws, policies, and procedures that are specifically geared towards the inclusion and implementation and proper selection of assistive technology devices and tools for special education students. These tools, if they are selected for use, have to be written in the special education student's individualized education plan, which is an IEP. Every special education student has one. So we have this new inclusion setting, which has actually been around for a while, but still a new idea. The inclusion classroom belongs to the general education teacher. It does not belong to the special education teacher. The only time the special education teacher is in her own classroom is for remediation services or if she is in a self-contained setting. So there becomes this issue, which brings us into our problem statement of general education teachers having their classroom where the special education teacher follows her special education students around throughout the day. So she's wherever they are. She's helping them whenever they need help. She's making sure the IEP is being followed and all accommodations and or classroom modifications are being adhered to. But it's not her classroom. It's the general education teacher's classroom. We know that special education teachers have extensive training for special education students, for their needs and what have you, especially when it comes to laws. What general education teachers do not understand is when they do not follow a child's IEP, they are essentially breaking the law. Their teaching license can be revoked, they can be sued. An individualized education plan, or rather known as an IEP, is a legal document that can be held up in a court of law. It has to be followed. Federal mandates make it to where it has to be followed. Oftentimes it is not. Now, not saying that it's not followed. Special education teachers do their best to make sure it is followed, but the general education teachers do not receive much training on special education in general, much less laws, policies, and procedures. So this brings us into our problem statement. There's a critical need for general education teachers to provide an appropriate environment in which students can receive assistive technology and succeed in the classroom and in their educational setting. The thought of assistive technology is to bridge the gap between the disability and how it inhibits the child's learning. The thought is technology can be used as a tool to impact a student's learning in a positive way. If it is in their IEP, it has to be used every day in the classroom. General education teachers do not specifically study the field of special education, but they need to have a basic understanding of special education fundamentals, laws, policies, and procedures. The purpose of this study is to examine general education teachers' knowledge of special education, assistive technology, law, implementation, and procedures. Research question 1. What fundamental legal knowledge do general education teachers possess regarding special education to protect students' rights? Research question 2. How does assistive technology impact the knowledge base of general education teachers? Research question 3. Will increased knowledge of special education offer a greater impact in general education teachers' use of assistive technology in the inclusion classroom? The hypothesis for this study is a statistically significant difference exists for general education teachers in Group A than Group B. This research study is true experimental because it includes true random sampling. In the United States, each year, more children are being identified as needing special education services. General education teachers are the ones who have the ability to refer students for special education services, along with the special education teachers. But they are often the first to identify children that need special education services, so it is important that they understand laws that are pertaining to special education. Population and sampling. This proposal seeks to find a statistically significant difference for general education teachers in Group A who will not receive the treatment to those in Group B who will receive the treatment. Therefore, this research proposal aims to be comparative by design because it compares Group A to Group B. Group A does not receive the treatment. All they receive is a pretest and a post-test. Group B receives the treatment, which is the training. That the training is on special education laws, policies, and procedures, and they also receive a pretest and a post-test at the end along with Group A. Then the data is analyzed. The training for the special education services, laws, policies, and procedures will be held virtually due to COVID. Pretest and post-test will be sent in Qualtrics via email. So our instrumentation, we have our pretest, which is given to Group A and Group B, which is Tilson's Survey of General Education Teachers' Level of Understanding of Special Education Law, Processes, and Procedures from 2011. Group B will receive the training. It will be held virtually, as stated previously, due to COVID. It will be about 2 hours long. Then, a week later, the post-test will be administered. Data collection and analysis. Throughout data collection, all institutional review board policies will be adhered to in order to protect the rights and welfare of the human research subjects and participants in this study. Consent will be given to teachers to fill out so it can be received by the researcher myself. Teachers have to give consent in order to participate. All answers will be anonymous. Nothing will be sent back to their administrators. There's no retribution, no backlash for being honest about their knowledge of general education teachers' knowledge of special education law, policies, and procedures. No backlash at all. It will all be anonymous. The analysis of this study will be completed through ANOVA. Data analysis will consist of 1 hypothesis and 3 research questions. Analysis of the hypothesis will be completed using ANOVA, as previously stated. This software, which quantitatively disseminates the gathered data through the pretest and post-test, will be used to determine if a statistically significant difference exists for general education teachers in Group A compared to Group B. And that is my original research concept for HCD 745. Thank you.